Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Really do appreciate your time. Tonight, we are talking about the Nancy Guthrie case out of Tucson, Arizona. Neighbors have recently reported that the cameras on January 11th and January 31st were off at very specific times. There is dogs that needed to go out and a lot more. Also, tonight, we have every empty house on that neighborhood, and we're going to take a look. There is so much to talk about tonight, and we are learning that there is reporting that Miss Guthrie might have not locked her doors. Get ready, it's going to be a doozy. A lot to talk about on the other side of this.
I've walked through storms in scars and grace. Smile through pain with a painted face. They called me too loud, too much, too strong. But honey, that's the reason I belong. Every scar's a scripture, every tear's a hymn. I found my worth where the light grew dim. They tried to break me, but here's a twist. I turned my pain into a clenched fist. I'm an unbreakable woman, born of fire and pearl. I shine like grace in a reckless world. You can test my faith, you can shake my plan, but I'll rise again. Just watch me judged by the gloss, not the cause. But God don't build weak hearts from gold. He made me fierce and he made me bold. I bend, I pray, I roar, I rise with mascara, tears and battle cries. Don't need your crown, I forge my own. From ashes, honey, I build my throne. I'm an unbreakable soul, dressed in truth and pearls. The fire don't scare me, it lights my world. You can doubt my voice, but you'll hear my name. I'm holy and hood, and I'm done with shame. For everyone called too much, too loud, too real. You're not to anything. You're exactly what power looks like. I'm an unbreakable soul, through the fight and flame. My scars are stories, my strength, my faith. Faith in my heart, fire in my clothes, forever divine. Clutch them pearls.
Getting clutch, better tighten the pearls. Drop the cold facts, got the truth for the world. No smoke, no fluff, just the real that we trust. Hold on to your seat, cause I'm coming in clutch. Coming in clutch. Coming in clutch, better tighten the pearls. Dropping cold facts, got the truth for the world. No smoke, no fluff, just the real that we trust. Hold on to your seat, cause I'm coming in clutch.
Well, hello, 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 everyone. Good to see you all. Thank you all so much for joining me. Really do appreciate your time. You could have chosen to be anywhere on YouTube. You have a lot of options, anywhere on the internet, anywhere in the world, and you chose to be right here. I know your time is very valuable, and I do appreciate you spending some time with me. Today is March 24th, 2026. It is currently 8:05 p.m on the east coast of the United States. Bonjour. Hello, beautiful pearls. Thank you all so much for joining me. A lot to go over tonight in the Nancy Guthrie case. This case is truly getting out of control because there is so many things that just can't be coincidental at this point, especially with the dates, especially with the timing. And it is truly very, very weird. I was watching a case, and I'm going to cover it. We're going to do a comparison, by the way. Um, and it was another case. I'm trying to think of her last name. Her name was Nancy, too. I was studying up on it last night. I can't remember her last name, but her name was Nancy too. And they have like the cases are very, very similar. I know some of you guys know what I'm talking about. So we're going to go over that later, not tonight, but another day. I was just really, really shocked. Woodrum, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Grace. Good to see everyone. Sorry, Ginger. Thank you so much, Ginger. Appreciate you. Guys, do me a favor before we get started. If you would be so, so kind to please hit that thumbs up button. I know we are always asking you to do that, or double tap the screen if you're on the mobile, but it really, really helps. Also, if you would consider sharing this live out, clicking that share button, copying that link, and sharing it in any of your favorite social media would mean so much. After the live, if you get 3 hypes a week. You either use it or lose it, as they say. If you would consider hyping one of the videos as well. I know we're always asking, but it really, really does make a huge, huge difference. And it's absolutely free to hype, hit the thumbs up, share, all of that. Uh, yeah. So, hello. Let me say hello to a few of you guys in chat. Hello, Miss Cindy, Connie, Pugs, Deanna, Forget Me Not, Miss Kelly, Susan, Peggy, Lost Voices, Deanna, Grace, Tony, Christy, Sherry, Connie, Ann Elizabeth, Wendy, Ginger, Peggy, Miss Grace, Ruby, Tony, Robin. Hello, Christy. Who else do we got? Peace. Good to see you, darling. Sassy. You're funny, Sassy. You're sweet. Christina, Kim, Not Lob. Who else do we got? Pam. Good to see you. Mike. Hello. Brandy, always in Indy. How you doing, girl? Ruby, hello, Emerald. Good to see you. Good to see you. There is a lot to get to tonight. Last night we had a really good live as well, and I was here nearly 4 hours, and I didn't even get through half of it. And then there's still more on today, so we're a little behind. But it's so interesting that interview that Nancy did last night, I was absolutely gobsmacked whenever the neighbor who had those 2 cameras um, at the back of his home, where that was pointing in Nancy's direction, where he was saying the camera wasn't working from on January 11th and the 31st. Also, that evening that the neighbor was out, the when Nancy was effectively over at her daughter's house and her son-in-law, Annie and Tommaso's house, they were walking their dog, and just down the street, just a few houses down from where Nancy lives, there is a little area where you can pull over, and there was a car that was sitting in this area, kind of a strange vehicle. And then a few days ago, we learned from another neighbor that on the 11th as well, in the evening time, from her bathroom window, she had seen a really strange man in the direction of Nancy's home. Yeah, crazy. It's absolutely crazy. This took a lot of planning, and we're going to get deep into it. So get your wading boots on. Get your wading boots on today. I bumped. He missed me. I see you, Sasha. Good to see you, darling. He tugs. Hello. Deb, good to see you. Hello, allegedly Amber. Good to see you, my friend. Really do appreciate it. Thank you. Good to see you, my friend. Really do appreciate you. Thank you so much for your support, my love. Preschool Granny, hello. CZ, hello, darling. Um, yes, Wendy, we're gonna need them today. We're gonna need them today. Also, there's reports that Nancy did not, or may not, I don't want to say did not, but she was allegedly known at times not to maybe lock her door, which, again, regardless of whether someone locks their door or not, you have no right to go in someone's home uninvited, right? And especially in the middle of the night and to unalive them. Regardless, there are neighbors that have spoken out that said they never locked their home up until this point, and now they are, obviously. Um, we should honestly live in a world where there shouldn't have to be any locks, but that's just unfortunately not the world that we live in. Um, that's okay, Jane. Good to see you. I always lock my home. Ooh, my electric just flashed. My doors like automatically lock. Like as soon as they're closed, they automatically lock. I don't even have to think about it. Uh, so they just automatically do. Lost Voices says, I read an article today that the sheriff is saying, oh my God, that's another thing we got to get to. Oh, man, you want to talk about sheriff's old boss? He didn't mince words. And also, there was a town meeting that we're going to get to. And they want this sheriff out. There are people that want this sheriff gone pronto. And it's really, can they get enough signatures? Can they get, like, what is it, 150,000 signatures? I read in an article today that the sheriff is saying that the surveillance video is from weeks prior to Nancy being kidnapped. That feels off that he's saying that. Yeah. Yeah, he says quite a bit, doesn't he? He says quite a bit. Perp didn't accomplish his goal, left empty-handed. You think, Susan, in your opinion, I'd like to hear what you have to say. Do you think there was the perpetrator was there to get something else? Because my opinion on this, and everyone differs because none of us knows what happened to Nancy. It's one of the most confusing cases I've ever covered because there's just so many different strange things in different areas with different people. Um, but I think the goal was Nancy. That's my opinion. Got no money, got nothing other than obviously Nancy. Um, when if someone like is going to rob you, you're usually like take whatever you want, just don't hurt anybody, right? They did the complete opposite. They didn't take nothing, and in my opinion, hurt Nancy, but they at least took her at the very minimum, right? And I think the family, God bless them, they are coming to the realization that it's not good, that they want to lay their mom to rest. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you're just joining us, please hit that thumbs up button if you'd share the live out. Also, consider becoming a member of the Pearl family. Would always love having you. Oh my God, 4 sons that literally just put okay. Yeah, and then yeah, the neighbor, not the neighbor, sorry. Uh the what's that? What was I gonna say? The signs that was put up yesterday. There was like 3 or 4 signs, those yellow signs, at license plate numbers and all of that. There's, people now talking and, tinfoil hats, and all that, but there was, another woman who died a few years ago who was, kind of fighting the county on, like, water meters and stuff like that. People are alleging that it was the the husband, her husband that put that up. Also, we have a floor plan of Nancy's home. And I think it might give us a better idea of how the perpetrator or perpetrators did this. You know what I mean? So we're going to go into that as well. So get comfy. A lot to talk about tonight. Her name was Carol Shoemake. That's who it was. And with this sheriff's history from years ago, really to current day, it seems like he's just always kind of been in a lot of trouble. Hey, Raymond, good to see you, my friend. How you doing? Thank you so much, Raymond. One year, thank you, that's why you do. Thank you so much, Raymond. Really do appreciate you, my friend. Good to see you. Hopefully, you and yours are doing good, my friend. Good to see you. Hey, Miss Deb, good to see you, my friend. Thank you so very much. Appreciate you, honey. What about the ransom for 4M? The FBI charging Derek for fraud, but do you think it's odd? 1, texted Tommaso. 2, called him 9 seconds. This still bothers me. I feel it is connected, but no proof of body. Love you. Love you too, Miss Deb. Thank you so much. You are so supportive of me, and I appreciate that very much, hon. So I talked to Daphne today, and because her and I have been down this rabbit hole with Derek and other family members, and we are, I'm just waiting for her to get back. We're going to be doing a live specifically just on Derek and some odd things that is around him. Yes, we've talked about Derek, but this is going deeper into it. It will unfortunately, like, some of it'll probably be a members only live, but then I'll cut it and make a video out of it. But there's just some things that we'll be showing that's uh I can't do it on a regular live stream, if you know what I mean. So so it'll be available for all. There's just some things we won't be able to show on the video. But there is a lot of interesting things. And out of, you're right, Deb, out of all of these people that we have spoken to, or not spoken to, seen in the last little bit, whether that is Harlow's, the Dailies, whoever. The only person that we know that has actually reached out to family members was this Derek guy, right? And he was the only one, maybe there was one more, charged with fraud. And remember that FBI said that they would, anyone who did this, they would go after for fraud if they were writing these ransom notes and they weren't related. But then with Derek, Chris McDonough from the interview room talks about Derek. He goes into it a little bit, very interesting as well, how they immediately sent him from California to Arizona. We've talked about how he's in the band, a band very similar, in my opinion, to Tommaso. And there's some very interesting things, in my opinion, about Derek's dad, where he was during the time, allegedly, when Nancy went missing. Just some very interesting things. So yeah. I don't know, but when someone usually writes a ransom letter or whatever, and they're involved, they generally go straight to the family member. And he's the only one that we know that actually called. You know what I mean? Thank you so much, Deb. Good to see you. Hey, Miss Melanie. Good to see you, babe. Thank you so much. 1 year. Hey there, Justin. Hello, Miss Melanie. Appreciate you. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for your support, Miss Melanie. Do appreciate you. Kiki, do you love me? Thank you so much. Do you think that someone close to the family? Miss you. Good to see you, Miss Kiki. Thank you so much for 4 months. I think it's someone close to Nancy, whoever that is, in my opinion, whoever that is. And it could truly be absolutely anybody. Absolutely anybody. First, before we get into the big things this evening, I want to get to something here. I want to show you guys. Let's go to, I don't know where to start. Sergeant Aaron Cross, president of the Pima County Deputies Organization, spoke at Pima County Board of Supervisors meeting this morning. And there is also a thing that I want to tell you that the Pima County Sheriff's Office put out, that there is these fundraisers like GoFundMe's and stuff going on with saying that it's related to Nancy and stuff. The family has nothing like that. Nothing at all. Okay. All right. Here we go. Pretty sure this is the one. Here we go. Listen to the. No, that's not it. Bear with me. This one's it. Okay. Let's check this out.
I'm Sergeant Aaron Cross, president of the Pima County Deputies Organization. As many know, a reporter recently uncovered the long-hidden, terrible record of Sheriff Chris Nanos from his time as an El Paso police officer.
There is no mixed words here.
This includes purportedly beating a handcuffed suspect in the head with a flashlight, for which he was suspended and nearly indicted. This record, if properly disclosed, would have likely prevented him from being hired or from becoming a peace officer in the state of Arizona. For over 40 years, this has been concealed from the...
Can we just play that little part again right there?
If properly disclosed, would have likely prevented him from being hired or from becoming a peace officer in the state of Arizona. For over 40 years, this has been concealed from the department and the voters of Pima County. Because of this scandal, our organization, the largest union of deputies in Pima County, has taken a vote. We asked our members a clear question: confidence in Sheriff Nanos to continue in office, or no confidence and a call for his resignation. The verdict was unanimous: no confidence. He has lost the faith of his deputies and the community.
Yeah. 98% no confidence when they took that vote. Almost, I mean, that is statistically is insane that 98% of your co-workers, that the people who are underneath you don't have confidence in you. That's a lot.
His past renders him unfit to wear the badge. That he has concealed it for 40 years does not make the concealment right. It makes the fraud greater. The 300 deputies I represent speak with one voice. Chris Nanos must show the integrity he once swore to uphold. He must show the dignity that the office requires. He must resign. If he will not, then I ask this board, charged with oversight, to exercise every authority vested in you. The power of this board should be used, not for comfort, but for accountability. There are moments in the life of a community when those entrusted with authority must stand firm against those who abuse it. This is such a moment. We ask that this board have the courage to support Supervisor Hines' item. Pima County and the nation is watching. Good morning, board. I'm Sergeant Aaron Cross, president of the Pima County Deputies Organization. As many know, a report
That is the president of the Pima County Deputies Organization. If that doesn't say something, I don't know what does. I don't know what does. That was the meeting this morning, and they put out a statement as well. And I want to show it to you. 13 hours ago, Pima County Deputy Organization, the Pima County Deputies Organization, PCDO, representing over 300 deputies in Pima County Sheriff's Department, has unanimously voted no confidence in the sheriff's Chris Nanos and called for his resignation. This action follows recent revelations about Nanos' extensive disciplinary history with the El Paso Sheriff's Department that he apparently failed to disclose to the department and the public for over 40 years. El Paso Police Departments show records that Nanos served from 1976 to 1982 and was suspended 8 separate times, resulting in a cumulative 37 days of suspension or leave without pay. These disciplinary actions stemmed from numerous allegations, including excessive force, including a 15-day suspension for allegedly striking a suspect in the head during an arrest, resulting in injury requiring intensive care, discharge of a pew-pew, illegal gambling, habitual tardiness, failure to report for duty, insubordination, making threats, dereliction of duty, improper use of a siren, and other violations of rules and regulations. Nanos ultimately resigned in 1982 in lieu of termination with his insubordination and consistent inefficiency listed as reasons for his departure. These documented issues apparently withheld when he applied as a correction officer with the PCSD raises serious concerns about leadership, fitness, and a set of troubling precedent for the department. Deputies cannot serve effectively under the leadership with such a history of repeated disciplinary problems, considering it is unlikely he would have been certified as a peace officer in Arizona if it was properly disclosed. How can a law enforcement officer be hired, trained, and disciplined by someone whose history should have precluded them from ever being one in this state? The unanimous vote, I can't say that word, unanimous vote of no confidence is a resounding rejection of Sheriff Nano's leadership, combined with the documented pattern of early career disciplinary issues and ongoing departmental challenges, including mismanagement, retaliation, eroded morale, and has created an unintended situation for our deputies and the community we serve. Sheriff Nanos should resign immediately to resort trust, accountability, and operational effectiveness to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. This would allow time for a special election where voters can make an informed decision about the future of our agency. PCDO calls for Sheriff Nanos to step down without delay. Continued leadership under the circumstances jeopardizes public safety, departmental morale, and the credibility of law enforcement in Pima County. The organization urges the Pima County Board of Supervisors, elected officials in the community to support this call for resignation and demand swift, meaningful change. They did not mince words, right? He now regrets, yeah. Ricky knew Nanos over 40 years and does not even trust Nanos. It's bad. It's really bad. Okay. Let's get to it, shall we? Let's get to it. Next thing before to that, bear with me 2 seconds. We're going to I want to go to Judge Brewer for this. Does he have a YouTube channel?
Something about this case still doesn't add up. In a world where almost every home has cameras, how does someone move through a property, enter a home, and leave with a person without being clearly seen? We are now entering week 7 in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. And despite having video footage, despite ransom notes, despite national attention and a growing reward, there's still no suspect, no vehicle, no clear timeline, no answers. And when that happens, you have to stop asking what we know and start asking, what are we missing? Because today, I want to go through some things that could completely change how we look at this case. Not as a break-in and not as a rushed crime.
Okay, so this is a question that I have. Which the neighbor didn't say the other day, but you remember when the neighbor said she was looking at her bathroom on January 11th and she sees this very weird guy with his hat down over toward Nancy's, in the direction of Nancy's house. And she thought it was weird, so much so she mentioned it to her husband and her family. The FBI did come to her, right? But one thing that I was thinking about this, why didn't they ask to do a sketch of this guy? You didn't hear them of asking of a sketch, right? Even if she didn't see his face or much of it, why not sketch about like what he may have been wearing, what his build was, so the public could see it? Right? And then thinking about January 11th, January 31st, during they're very interested in those days. It seemed like they have had a really hard time finding a vehicle. That was reports that they were really having trouble finding a vehicle, in at least in the beginning. We have no idea if they found a vehicle now. They still have not said be on the lookout for such and such vehicle at all. So either they have it or they don't. And if they don't have a vehicle, why are they not asking the public for the vehicle? But if there was a vehicle there January 11th, or earlier in the day or the evening of January 31st, before or while Nancy was at her daughter's house, um, they're still having trouble finding this vehicle. It's very, very interesting to me. Carmelita, 23 months. You're a rock star. Thank you so much, darling. Hello, Justin and Pearls. Almost 2 years together. Yes, girlfriend. Good to see you. Appreciate you, Carmelita. Hello, darling. Jen in Georgia. How you doing, girl? Appreciate you. Still standing just in the bushes. Love you, Pearls. Not as much as we love you, Jen. Thank you so much. You okay, darling? Good to see you. Really appreciate your support, Jen. Get out of the bushes. Get out of the bushes. We're in Arizona. There's cactus. There's cactus in the bushes. You need to get out of there. Come out of here. Come out of here. Just there's a meeting tonight. I didn't see any. That's okay. Are you talking about before the video came out? Well, I'm talking about the no. So I'm talking about why haven't, if the neighbor saw someone outside of her window, outside of her home on January 11th, and she thought it was weird, why didn't they do a sketch of this guy? You know what I mean? Hey, War. Hey, darling. Good to see you. What he was wearing, what his build was, all of that. It's at 8:00. It's the good guy that works with Shara. If you want to send that to me. She didn't say his race either. Yeah, yeah. It's like they're asking, they're putting out a reward for $1.2 million, but they're not giving any more information either, you know? Andrea, 6 months, rock star. Been here 11 months, joined when definitely went missing. Love you all. Thank you so much, Andrea. We love you, darling. It's so good to see you. Appreciate you. And thank you so very much for your continued support, my dear. Really, really do appreciate that.
But as something far more calculated, what if the suspect didn't break in at all? What if they were already inside when Nancy returned home that night? Now, let's look at this in reality, because investigators are now focusing on two specific dates, January the 11th and January the 24th. That tells us something. It tells us that this was not a random case. This may have been planned for weeks, and most likely it was, based on what we're seeing here. You know, the FBI, they have gone from door to door, asking for surveillance, asking about internet disruption, asking about unusual activity, and still we have no suspect.
Okay, here is allegedly that's going around. the a floor plan that is going around. Why do they got question marks? Are they not? I thought I had another floor plan. Give me a second.
We have no vehicle, no clear movement. That's not normal for a case with this much attention.
It's Brew Crew.
Which means one of two things.
Okay.
Either a mistake hasn't been discovered yet, or this was planned better than anyone ever thought. Now,
and that's the thing, right? Like, that's the weird thing about this. Like, is this planned better than everyone ever thought? Because it just can't be, in my opinion, a coincidence that their cameras never go off, but just the 2 days, the 11th and the 31st, how are all of these cameras going offline? Why was the FBI concerned about what they call a blackout, right? And who, more importantly, what kind of person could do that, right? Most criminals would never think of doing a blackout on a neighborhood, or messing with their cameras. And if people criminals do mess with their cameras, they will generally spray paint it or cover it up while they're wearing a mask or something while they commit a crime. They might take them, whatever. But not during, not generally whenever a perpetrator is, if they're going to plan and they go prior to the crime and they're scoping it out or anything like that, they usually keep their cell phones on. Like, if the perpetrator went there on the 11th, they usually aren't dressed up in full garb, right? Like the ski mask. They many times will keep their phone on. Sometimes they'll keep their phone off, but they don't usually dress out of character, if you will, especially days or weeks prior. It's very, very interesting.
Let's talk about the front door. Nancy reportedly had this security gate. We've seen it in the photographs. This heavy-duty security gate. It's not just a standard door. It was a reinforced barrier, the kind it's not easy to force open quietly or at all. So here's the problem with that. If it wasn't forced, how did someone get inside the house? Because so far...
Now, I wonder, one thing that I was speaking about last night was, if that vehicle that was pulled on the side of Nancy's, right down below her house, I showed it last night, where they pull off, and that the neighbor who had the dog was walking his dog that evening, they didn't see anybody in that vehicle. But again, the other neighbor did see someone weird that evening. And this would be around about, allegedly, the time Tommaso and Annie and Nancy and all of them were at their house, Tommaso and Annie's house. Nancy was at the house. She had taken the Uber. to me, that seems like whenever this person could have been getting like breaking in, right? Getting the door unlocked, the window, whatever. So it would be easier for them to go in later on after she was asleep.
There's no clear evidence of a break-in. There's no obvious damage, no signs of forced entry that's been reported. And that alone should raise questions. But there's also another layer to this that makes it even more concerning. The cameras. You know, in today's world, most homes have multiple camera angles, front, side, back, every point. And yet, whoever did this managed to move around that property without being clearly captured on any of them, except for one. That was the front door camera.
Now, yeah, I mean, it may not be that they weren't captured, but again, there wasn't a subscription and they weren't able to recover, allegedly, the data at the time. Now, again, maybe they've recovered more data since we've got this guy, right? From what I call the mother-in-law suite, that camera and all that, which took them days to go back there and seemingly look at it. And if they have, and they truly don't know who or have a person of interest, why are they not giving us more information about this person? More video, more photos, more details.
And even then, they were completely covered from head to toe, unrecognizable. Now, just think about that. That's not just luck, because avoiding cameras isn't simple. You have to know where they are. You have to know what they see and where the blind spots are. That takes awareness.
And that takes planning, right? That takes planning.
It takes planning. And in many cases, it takes familiarity, because the only time that we clearly see this individual is when he's on that front porch. And even then, they are actively trying to control what that camera sees.
Janice, I agree with you. I think it's more than one person. It might be a multi-layered situation. So to nail down the case, they need DNA and all the video camera footage. I think that it's very multi-layered, in my opinion. You know, one of my theories was, again, I'm not blaming absolutely anybody because we have zero idea, but one of my theories was maybe that's the reason they were at Tommaso's house and searching that house like that, taking the car longer than anybody's. Maybe that's why they were at Carlos's house, the Daly's house. Is this a multi-layered, or is it just them investigating?
Blocking it, manipulating it,
roll them out,
and just disabling it, tearing it down, pulling it off. So the question becomes, was this luck or knowledge?
And again, think about this. The inside cameras. There was cameras inside the home. There was just a couple little thumbnails. But allegedly, when the police got there, it showed the police getting there. How did that happen?
Because if they knew where the cameras were, that suggests that this person had observed the home and studied the layout, or or had prior familiarity. And
Yeah,
that
crazy.
changes everything about this case.
I don't know, Ginger.
And
I don't know why anybody's not talking about that. It beats me. It truly beats me.
if someone entered that home before Nancy ever got back from dinner that night, we know that she was out earlier in the evening.
That's
We
right.
know that there's a gap in the time, and we know there's no clear entry on video. So what if someone got inside earlier and waited, not minutes, but hours, waiting for the house to go quiet? That's not being in a panic. It's patience, it's control. Now
let's think about that. Let's think about that. Now, I said a second ago that this person, while Nancy was at her daughter's house, maybe they went to, I call it like a pre-break-in, where they unlock the door, pick a lock, a window, or whatever, so they can enter quietly later in the 7 o'clock on the 31st, 7 p.m. on the 31st. And they pulled over down the road or whatever, and they know Nancy is gone. Again, how did they know Nancy was gone? And how did they know what time she would be back? All that kind of stuff. But let's say that they went in Nancy's house around 7, 8 o'clock before she arrived back home. And like the Brew crew here, Judge Brewer, he says they just waited for things to get quiet. Could that be why they were also having trouble finding a vehicle? It's still got to leave at a certain time, but they might not know whenever, or have it on camera whenever they were arriving. These houses are pretty far back, but it would have been dark around 7 or 8 o'clock that time of year. So yeah, the 31st, February 1st. What time does it get dark? Because Arizona doesn't do the daylight savings time. What time did it get dark on January 31st, February 1st? My locals.
let's look at this, because this is where it gets real. If someone was already inside, they're listening, they're watching and waiting. They know that she's coming home, and they know eventually everything is going to go quiet. But there's one detail that really stands out here. There has been reporting that Nancy may not have taken her evening medicine when she returned home that evening. Now think about that, because for someone with a routine, that matters.
Big time.
So if
Big time.
if that didn't happen, we have to ask why.
Yeah. Now, let's think about that for 1 second. What if Nancy didn't take her medicine? Now, she supposedly arrived home at 9:45, 9:48-ish that evening, which to me seemed a little late. I'm just going to be honest with you. And then we have the garage door allegedly opening and closing for 2 minutes. She would have went home, probably taken her medicine, and went to bed, right? Someone that is 84 years old, they are, and we all are, but particularly at 84 years old, and particularly when you have some significant health issues, you're not going to miss your medicine, right? you're not going to miss that medicine. It could be life and death, particularly if you're taking blood thinners or anything like that, because you don't take your blood thinners, blood can clot, you have heart issues, all kinds of things. So does that mean something could have happened as soon as she walked in the house? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Didn't she take her evening medicine before she went to bed? Was she interrupted? Did something happen sooner than expected? Because if someone was all,
but this is the problem with that, at least from what we supposedly know. When her heart spiked, right? So can it really be earlier that could something have really have happened to her earlier that evening or right after she was dropped off, 9:45-ish? Or does that make it impossible because of when her heart spiked and the phone was shut off and all that? Let me pull up something while we're playing this one.
Already inside, then whatever happened may have happened before she ever settled in for the evening. And that changes everything about this case, because now we're not talking about waiting for the perfect moment. We're talking about forcing it early. Now, if she encounters someone inside, it happened fast and possibly could have been violent, because we've heard about the blood, and blood tells you that something went wrong. There was resistance, control was lost. And when control is lost, things escalate quickly. Now, the suspect, he now has a problem. How do you remove someone without being seen? And that brings us back to the porch. Let's go back to that footage, because the suspect hunched over, moving strangely, covering the camera. But what if that wasn't entry, as early on reported, but it was an exit preparation? Because if Nancy was,
I think that was them. In my opinion, that was them getting ready to take her out. They were preparing to take her out. You know what I mean? That's what I think it was. So just remember in just a second about what I just stated, what Judge Brewer just spoke here about. Does that mean something could have happened to her earlier on, right when she got home, or interrupted shortly after she got home? Because if she didn't take her medicine, I can't imagine why she would not take her medicine. And then we're going to look at her heart spike here in a minute and that timeline, because that's and what's been reported.
Injured, they wouldn't want anyone to see that. So they block the camera, they manipulate it, they remove it, not just to hide themselves, but to hide her. Now, if this is true, we've been looking at that footage wrong the entire time. This starts to suggest coordination, possibly more than one person, which I do believe, because removing someone unnoticed is not easy.
Yes.
This is someone comfortable with risk and control. They're comfortable being violent. And behavior like this usually doesn't start here. And excuse me. Now the reward is massive. So why hasn't anyone come forward with this massive reward? Because of fear? Was it loyalty or the involvement? But listen, pressure builds, and pressure leads to mistakes. This whole case is a big puzzle. And when those pieces finally align, they're going to tell a story. And at the end of the day, this case is not a
put a yes in chat if you believe the perpetrator or perpetrators are local. If you think the perpetrator or perpetrators are local meaning within Arizona. But I really think they're pretty local. Just a yes or no. Okay. So one person says, I see that says no. Most says yes. Okay. If that is so, right? If someone is local, people know you, right? And that makes it really hard to get away with something. You know, it's Tucson. Tucson's not, you know, that big. And especially if you've lived there 30, 40 years, you're 30, 40 years old, and you live there, you have a community around you. Someone has to know this face. You can't convince me that someone who has been watching this doesn't know this face. They have to know this face. They have to know this build, this walk. Hey, Rhonda. $1.2 million. Why haven't they came forward? Or has the FBI already been to one of the places? Again, they're not asking us, or they're not showing us any certain vehicle. They're not giving us any more information on this guy. No, you know, what potentially look out for. And Sheriff Nanos, he says recently that they've kind of known the motive since jump. Why? They either have nothing or they know exactly where they're going.
About all of these theories. And law enforcement has to have theories. That's all they've got to go on right now. Law enforcement has theories to try to figure out what happened in a case like this when they don't have credible evidence that leads them to a suspect. They have to try to figure out the suspect's movement. They have to try to figure out how the suspect planned this. But like I always say, at the end of the day, this case is just about Nancy, the mother, the grandmother, the woman who should be home right now with her family. And the longer that this goes, the harder it gets for her family. But cases like this, they don't stay hidden forever. Someone knows something, and in that moment when they decide to speak, changes everything. So we keep on talking about Nancy. We keep on asking, and we keep Nancy's name out there. It matters. It really matters. So let me ask you, do you think that this was planned? Do you think that someone knew the home, the layout of the home and the property? Or are we missing something much bigger? Drop your thoughts below. And listen, if you want real analysis, on this case, hit the subscribe button, because we're not going to let this case fade. We're going to keep Nancy in the front.
I really like him. I like his thinking. I think he's like the real deal. Very plain spoken and direct, and I appreciate that with his opinion. Hey, Candy, thank you that is incredibly generous of you, my dear. You are very, very kind. Thank you so much for your donation, my dear. Really do appreciate that. Can't do it without you, Miss Candy. Good to see you, and thank you once again, my friend. In my opinion, I believe there's something bigger we're missing, like he said. Clearly. Okay. Now let's think about that. We got a lot to get to still, but I want to show you this real quick. Because if, for instance, something happened to Nancy earlier that we are just not understanding, right? There's reporting that she may have not taken her medicine. And if she didn't take her medicine, why? There's no other reason. Unless she's just old and forgetful. But Nancy is sharp as a tack, so they say, right? Physically, she's not there, right? But psychologically, she's sharp as a tack. And she was allegedly drinking, but to be honest with you, there is reports. I mean, Nancy drank. It's that's widely reported. She liked a specific drink that she was known for. So I don't think she drank in excess of anything, in my opinion. So I personally don't think that has anything to do with it. But let's go. Nancy, from 5:32, Nancy travels to her family members. 5:30. We'll just say 5:30, right? She gets back at 9:48. Right? So let's 3 hours and what is it? 18 minutes. 19 20, 3 hours and 20 minutes later. She's back. From the time she leaves in an Uber, plays a little game with her family or whatever, eats dinner, congregates a little bit, and by the time she's dropped back off, right? We'll just say 3.5 hours, just to keep it even. At 9:50, the garage doors open. We have a data point on that. So a 2-minute window. Some people says that's not long enough. I think it's fine, my personal opinion, but a lot of people think it's not long enough. Rachel, how you doing, girl? Really kind of you. Thank you so incredibly much, Rachel. Really appreciate you as well, my dear. Thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate you. You're very kind to me, my dear. Good to see you. Thank you much, baby. Was it Nancy's habit to enter through the garage door rather than any other doors? I find it interesting since she doesn't drive. Since she doesn't drive. She does drive. You mean maybe she didn't drive because she didn't drive that evening? I think it's common that she probably went through that door. My opinion. Hey, Enoch, good to see you. But 2 minutes. Okay. Now, 9:50 garage door closes. Right? Now, this tells me, at least in my opinion, about because there was reports that Tommaso may have went in, that Tommaso may have not went in, right? This tells me, just in my opinion, and this is an assumption, I just want to be clear, so don't take it as fact, but the way I think of it, because that door was only open and closed for 2 minutes, I assume that Tommaso never went in. That he never went in. He didn't allegedly come back out that way. He could have, if he did go in, he could have came out in another sort of door, right? But to me, it was just kind of like, I'm going to drop you off, because the time the door is down, think about this, guys. When the door goes down, the garage door, you've already said your goodbye, right? And when that door goes down, you back up and you leave. If you're not going to go in and make sure she's okay. Okay? So, in my opinion, just an opinion, 1 of 8 billion, I don't think Tommaso went in. Now, if Tommaso didn't go in, you can look at that at different ways. You can think, why didn't he make sure his, feeble mother-in-law who walks with a cane didn't get in okay? Who may have been drinking as well. Or you could just think, that's just how they are. That's just how the family is. Every family does things differently, behaves differently, all of that. But let's say Nancy, the door closes at 9:50. And then what happens from 9:50 p.m. to 1:47 a.m., right? 9:50, 10:50, 11:50, 12:50, 1:50. And it's almost 4 hours to the dot. It's almost 4 hours to the dot. Within 2 minutes, it would have been 4 hours. Does that mean Nancy went in, got herself ready for bed, and went to bed? If she did, fine and dandy. But if she didn't take her medication, that tells me something could have happened, but we got to talk about her heart spike, because that's major. But also something we're not talking about. People do things out of habit every single day. You and I both do it out of habit, right? I go live almost very similar time every single day, right? You probably do your morning routine every single day, whatever. take your medicine at the same time every day. Except if something happens to you or something out of the ordinary happens. Now, something out of the ordinary could have happened. I mean, it did at some point in that house, obviously. It could have happened whenever she first walked in or 4 hours. But sometimes whenever you're thrown off on your routine, maybe you're upset. Maybe Nancy was upset when she left or went in the house. Maybe Nancy was upset when she went in the house. And her routine was just off after that. That could be part of it too. We don't know. We don't know. Oh, Rachel, that is so kind of you again. Thank you. Rachel. You are very, very kind to me. And thank you so much for your support, truly, my friend. Good to see you. And thank you again. Really appreciate that. Miss Sharon, hello, darling. Thank you so much. I heard the time of the garage door had come from the family, not from anything technical. No, from what it was, it came from an app that, from what I understand from. Let me know where you saw that though, and I'll look at that though. But from what I understand, it came from an app. That's how we know that it was opened at that time, and we don't have a time point of it opening the next day or anything, or during the night, other than 9:48. But if you have something like that, please send it to me. Could be, wrong reporting. Let me look at something. I'll see if I can pull it up here in just a second, though. Thank you so much, Miss Sharon. Love you, baby. Why does Nancy being happy, sad, or angry have to do with her being kidnapped? What do you mean? Who's saying her being happy or sad or anything has to do with her being kidnapped? And I'll say that if I'm not sure I'm totally understanding your question per se, but if you are arguing with somebody or you've pissed somebody off or something, before, sometimes they can get so mad at you that they snap or they plan or something, I'm not saying that happened. If she's always left the door unlocked, why did she go through the garage and why not her unlocked door? I don't know. If Nancy was possibly rugged, it could have. I don't think that there was. I can't. I hope not. I hope not. There's no evidence of that as of now. But can't imagine. All right. So 1:47, 2 a.m., near close to 2 a.m. is when the doorbell camera disconnects. Now, it's interesting right here because that's at 1:47. We're nearly at 2 a.m. at that point. Now, remember last night, the neighbor who speaks about his dogs wake him up, which is extremely rare that happens, and wants to go out in the middle of the night. And the dog kind of stopped and looked in Nancy's direction, for a couple seconds and just went on its merry way after that, after you went back inside. but the cameras weren't being used either. Around that time, weren't working. That was again 1:48. It disconnects. This is the neighbor said it was after 1 a.m. whenever he took the dog out. Sometimes after 1. Before 2, after 1. This is right when something is going down, right? Something is going down, obviously. This dog is weirded out. The cameras aren't working, or the camera disconnects. But it not only disconnects for Nancy at 1:47. Look at this. Look at this. This is why they are asking about a blackout. Because it not only disconnects for Nancy at 1:47, it disconnects for the neighbor, for the neighbors, right? Or neighbors. It's essentially disconnecting. Everything's disconnecting all at once. Now, how do you do that? Right? How do you do that? It's someone who's got to be very well planned with internet, electricity, something. Because I don't think it is a coincidence that the neighbor's camera is disconnecting at the same time that Nancy's doorbell camera is disconnecting. Now at 2:12, the software picks up in the camera that it detects a person. It's essentially the motion sensor. It's not recording anything, but it's saying, "Oh, we've detected a motion of a person." Right? And that is at 2:12. 30 minutes later, we'll say. And at 2:28, Pacemaker app shows disconnect from phone. Now, we're thinking about that spike. I'm not sure I am exactly convinced about this spike yet. I want to show you, I want to look at something. Let me see here. I got it right here. Let me see here. Control F, spike. Okay. Because this now, if that spike did not happen, right? If that spike did not happen, could Nancy have been, could something have happened hours prior? Hours prior. Oops, 1 second here. What the hell happened? Okay. Let's see here. Investigators have not publicly said if anything they recovered from Guthrie's Apple Watch data. McVeigh said if the watch recorded a spike in heart rate, unusual movement, or a sign of agitation, it could help narrow the window of when something went wrong. Quote, if you're a burglar and you come up on her and there's a fight, you're not going to take her, end quote. He said, the probability of this just being some random guy, I don't believe. I think there's something else more to it. Okay. Let me see what she says right here. Give me a second.
When I started my record label, the business side of things, taxes, finances, definitely felt like adulting. But just because you start your own thing
I want to
doesn't
know.
mean you have to figure it out on your own.
Why won't it
It's
let
been
me see
amazing to
this?
have a TurboTax expert to bounce ideas off of.
Okay,
Even if I'm in
screw
the
this.
studio alone at night.
Okay. I want to know if there was a spike or not.
I've gathered you here today for a family.
Okay, screw this thing. I'm not messing with it because it keeps messing. Nancy Guthrie's 2 a.m. pacemaker, this is the New York Post, spike on the day she vanished could mean that the elderly woman was involved in a heart rate struggle with her possible captor, a lead cardiologist speculated. If a person was in a physical struggle, that might have created a rapid heartbeat. Yeah, but this is speculation. I don't see anyone saying, again, if I'm wrong, chat, please correct me. Please correct me. I haven't, because everyone's like speculating. Well, if it did, I'm not seeing anything on that. I don't know why. Again, if someone's got it, please send it to me because I think that's going to be very important. If there is a spike, then that's going to give us a lot of information. But if there is not a spike, then that tells me something could have happened hours before. I think it was reported initially. I can't remember where. There's been so much. So it's a little weird to me. Does Brian say anything about it? Do we know? Okay. Let me pull this up and show you what's going on here. Check this out. We're going to go to this. I'm going to go to Brian Inton right here.
When she says we continue, or when they say, the family says, we continue to believe it is Tucsonians, or they say Tucsonans.
Listen to this.
It's the first time I've heard that phrase before. Tucsonans and the greater Southern Arizona community that hold the key to finding resolution in this case. I found that to be very interesting because it is something that I have heard over and over again, never from the Guthrie family, but from sources that I have within law enforcement and also law enforcement experts that I've interviewed on the show several times. And that is that there is this belief that whoever did this is from the Tucson area, could even be from that neighborhood, but is from somewhere in the Tucson area. And since the beginning, that has been a theory that I have heard over and over again, that it could be a local, that there are local people who know what happened. And remember the first two raids that we saw, which at this point.
Okay. So that was my question a minute ago, right? Do you guys think, in your opinion, that this perpetrator is local? Most of you overwhelmingly said yes. You do think this person is local. And now, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, darling. And now, the Guthrie family is saying, we believe, Tucsonians will know who this person is. And then Brian saying with his sources that they believe that this person is local. How, again, if this guy is 30s, 40s, this suspect, how do they not? How does locals there has to be someone sitting in their home for the last several weeks and that is just doubting the hell out of themselves. There's just no way that could be such and such. I know him to be a sweet guy. God, it looks like him though. But there's just no way. They're talking themselves out of it. Right? Because this person, if locally, you have a community around you. Right? So, love you, Sheila. Don't end up on Dateline Detroit. Uh-oh. No, don't want that at all. Okay, here we go. Want to show you this right here. Bear with me. We're going to go to this. My computer is just giving me a little trouble today, guys. I apologize. I'm going to go to Miss Guthrie.
In addition to Joseph Scott Morgan, Director Operations, USPA Nationwide Security, leading a team of investigators around the world to locate and extract missing people. Former Marine, Iraqi war vet, Brian Fitzgibbons, I find it very telling that first Pima County helicopters take to the air. This is in the last 24 hours. They are joined by Maricopa County helicopters. They go toward the Mexican border, seemingly rendezvous, and then head back toward the FBI headquarters in Phoenix. Remember, a couple of weeks ago, the FBI decamped largely from Tucson, leaving guys and women on the ground, but heading back to assimilate evidence at their main headquarters where they have all of their facilities there in Phoenix. So why? What could they be looking at? This is what you and your team at USPA Nationwide Security do when you are trying to find missing people. So how does this fit in with Nancy Guthrie?
Yeah, we live in an age of incredible amounts of open source intelligence where, you know, the public, online sleuths, private firms are able to track with incredible detail and immediacy any movements of aircraft in and around related to this case with tail numbers and everything else. Look, you know, destinations, their travel patterns. You know, could this be something related to the case? Potentially. Could this be related to some other case? We don't know. All that we're able to see.
I know that, Brian. I know it may or may not be related to this case. I would venture to just go out on a limb and say it is because they circle back to the FBI headquarters. What other case is Pima handling that is FBI connected that they want to use a helicopter for? So what are they looking at? Why do they need a helicopter vantage point? Why bring in another law enforcement agency, Maricopa? Of course, I know it may or may not be connected. I mean, I can ask a guy on the street that, but you're the Director of Operations, USPA Nationwide Security. So think.
Next, we're going to go to every house that is vacant in that neighborhood. I'm going to show you every vacant house in that neighborhood.
What are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, this looks like movement of personnel to me. So for some reason, they went directly to that FBI location. You know, we didn't see them scanning similar to with the Bluetooth beacon where they were searching a slow, methodical grid pattern. These were directed movements of personnel for a specific reason back to that FBI location.
I don't think they took the scenic route, Brian Fitzgibbons. I don't think they went from Pima to the Mexican border and then to the FBI headquarters to transfer personnel. Personnel can get in a car and drive. They're not getting a helicopter escort. Plus, they're not going to go in a triangle. If it was just transferring personnel, they would go from Pima to Phoenix. They would not go a drive-by at the Mexican border. What?
Nancy is she's a very sweet, kind person behind the scenes. Like, she's really a caring person. She gets a little fired up like we all do sometimes.
Brian, you've extracted a lot of people that were missing. Why did they need an aerial view? This is not like catching an Uber to carry somebody to FBI headquarters. They're looking for something. What?
Yeah, no, I disagree. I think that this is a movement of people, whether those personnel are, Pima County Sheriff's Office or a potential suspect in this case, that flight pattern looked to me like they were moving people.
Okay, I reject that, but maybe you're right. Before I totally throw out the baby with the bathwater, Dave Mack, tell me again what we know about the helicopter movements last night.
Well, what we know, Nancy, is that it started with Pima County, okay? At first, it was just Pima County flying their helicopter from Tucson to the border. Then coming back, landing near the Phoenix office for the FBI. Then later in the day, Maricopa County then joined the Pima County Sheriff's Department helicopter. So,
okay, Maricopa County. What county was Carlos in? I can't remember. Who was in Maricopa? Yeah, she's feisty. We need her to be. Yeah. We knew Mara. Thank you. Okay, so that wouldn't be it. Okay. Thank you, Susie Q. Appreciate you, Susie Q. How are you? Thank you, Thank you for respecting. Thank you, Lovely. Appreciate you. Thank you for being a member. Really do appreciate you, my love. Well, I'm getting two different. Someone saying Rio Rico, but Rio Rico was the area. That wasn't the county, was it? I'm getting three different answers.
you had Pima County going alone, then returning and going back with Maricopa County. 2 helicopters flying to the border from the Tucson area. And then again, incorporating the FBI landing into that as well in Phoenix. Again, Pima alone, then Maricopa County together.
Okay, what did he say?
So
Maricopa County into that.
And drop
Pima County.
Think what?
Yeah, no.
I think it's stuck. My arrow sometimes. Give me a second. Okay.
They would not go.
Give me a second. I'm sorry.
The border. Then coming back, landing near the Phoenix office for the FBI. Then later in the day, Maricopa County then joined the Pima County Sheriff's Department helicopter. So you had Pima County going alone, then returning and going back with Maricopa County. 2 helicopters flying to the border from the Tucson area. And then again, incorporating the FBI landing into that as well in Phoenix. Again, Pima alone, then Maricopa County together.
Pima alone, then Maricopa County together. Yes, Maricopa is like the size of, I think it's like New Jersey and Delaware or something like that, or it's huge. Maricopa County, you see a lot on the news. Big, big, big. LPC Deborah, welcome to the Pearl family. You're a rock star. Appreciate you very, very much. I welcome our newest Pearl. We got another jewel there. LPC Deborah, thank you so much, my friend. Really, really do appreciate you. Thank you truly for your support. I appreciate it very much. Okay. All right.
So,
Now, I just want to show this, and then I want y'all to go watch Nancy Grace. Make sure you watch all of her.
Todd,
I'm gonna support
what were they looking for? Why did they need helicopter vantages? Why did they need to look? Why did they need an aerial view?
Well, they could have easily gotten new information that we didn't know about before, which leads to them looking for a path that the kidnappers could have taken. They're trying to verify locations. There may have been some evidence that they found near the border that they wanted to hurriedly get back to the FBI to, go through.
I don't see them going to the border. I don't. But again, this case is very weird. But I don't see it. I just don't see it. However, they were, and again, I'm not saying Carlos has anything to do with it or anything, because he's clearly said he has nothing to do with it and all that. They were really far south next to the border as well. Is there something in that area that's making them go back?
So there's a couple of different things that could have happened. I mean, the transportation of personnel is definitely one of them, but there's a lot of other things that could have happened there. I think that they still want to try to find signals from the pacemaker. If it's still active, they could be up doing that again.
Yesterday.
Again, they would be doing something more patterned, but if they had specific information about a location, they may have wanted to get down there in the air right away to try to see if they could get the signal.
Well, it's too far to haul a corpse. Well, it's generally it's within, remains are usually very close, almost 100% of the time, not overwhelming majority. It's within 25 miles, and that's really far out. But they were having trouble finding a car. I mean, like, if you're on a highway or an interstate, you would think, and they were traveling that far, it would be very easier for them to find a vehicle.
Shipley, I agree with you on everything you said except one thing. I don't think it has anything to do with Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker, because they started, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave Mack, they started the pacemaker search with a signal sniffer, which is blue fly technology. They quickly transferred to drones with the sniffer attached, because the Bluetooth signal from a pacemaker does not extend as high as many people think. So they had to get lower down to the ground. Therefore, I don't think they would make the same mistake of attaching signal sniffers to a helicopter and flying to Mexico. I see where you're going. I agree with everything you said. Before that, what is that? Dave Mack jumping in. Go ahead, Dave. And by the way, that's from our friends at Blue Flight.
What do you mean by that, TBO? Can someone explain the package? Oh, it wasn't there the night the porch guy was there, but I think you mean later on. I think on Sunday, whenever they took pictures of blood, it was there. They deliver Sunday. So Amazon does deliver Sunday. And Carlos delivers packages, right? The package has nothing to do with Nancy going missing. It just has nothing to do with Nancy going missing. Maybe they had his shoe print or something when he was delivering a package. Cell phone, something.
I was just trying to point out that, Bluetooth
But
technology, it only reaches about 20.
Again, maybe they were just double checking. But the thing about that, if Carlos, it should be, again, I just don't think it can be that. Because if Carlos delivered a package Sunday morning, say 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're not hiding anything, right? If you're delivering packages, you're not hiding, you're not trying to conceal yourself. They don't care. If they're not going to be searching for the perpetrator's phone at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning.
20 feet. And so once you're past that, you're not going to do a lot of good. And that's the case where they were able to use the drones, because you can bring the drones in a lot lower than you can bring in helicopters, and they're less disruptive as well. So I'm with you on that one with regard to what the helicopters were being used for yesterday.
Well, I'm so glad that there's an echo chamber, but the Bluetooth signal.
Now, this is when they were at the Daly's home. You're seeing here,
as we learned at the time, goes much further than 20 feet. That was the Bluetooth signal. You're referring to correctly, Dave Mack, the Bluetooth signal from her phone and her Wi-Fi. Once she left the home, it cut that connection, that video from our friends at Fox News. But Brian Fitzgibbons, didn't we learn upon a careful review that Bluetooth signals can go as far as a football field?
Yeah, so there had been some work done on these antennas to increase the range of that signal sniffer up to 150 to 300 feet in some test cases that I saw.
Something. I will be honest with you. If Carlos delivered, whoever delivered that Amazon package, I don't necessarily think that they're going to see the blood, because the people that's delivering things, they are in such a hurry, right? They want to get, Amazon gives them allegedly a certain amount of time to deliver the packages, and they're going 90 miles a minute. And many times they've got like their scanner and they're scanning it as they're going in, they throw it and they just go on. I don't blame them. To me, that means nothing personally. They're very focused. They're going, yeah, they don't pay attention. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if it's Amazon, USPS, UPS, FedEx.
Online. So I believe that some of that technology had been deployed earlier on in this case, to broaden the scope of that search.
You're right. Helicopters could actually interfere with the signal's reception and cannot get low enough to connect. And that is why the device was then attached to a drone. So I don't think this had anything to do with trying to find her pacemaker. I do, however, think Todd Shipley is onto something about what they were looking for. Could it have been a route? Could it have been even a hideout? It could have been so many things. We don't know yet, but we're trying to find out. That said, in the last 24 hours, helicopters from Pima County sheriffs, then joined by Maricopa County sheriffs, rendezvous, we understand, en route to the Mexican border.
Listen to this.
Then travel to the FBI headquarters in Phoenix. Also, the Guthrie family issuing another desperate plea, asking neighbors to search their memories.
We are deeply grateful for the outpouring from neighbors, friends, and the people of Tucson. We are all family now. We continue to believe it is Tucsonans and the greater Southern Arizona community that hold the key to finding resolution in this case. Someone knows something. It's possible a member of this community has information that they do not even realize is significant. We hope people search their memories, especially around the key timelines of January 31st, the early morning hours of February 1st, as well as the late evening of January 11th. We desperately ask the community for renewed attention to our mom's case. Please.
One second. One more thing I want to show you here. Right.
Acts with Joseph Scott Morgan. But more importantly, death investigator with over 10,000
I always love when Nancy's in a leather jacket. She looks good in leather.
death investigators.
I used to love, I miss Nancy on HLN. I loved her on. Who remembers the day of HLN whenever there was like true crime every night? I mean, I loved that time. Bombshell tonight, she would say.
Investigations under his belt.
So good.
Did you hear not only the heartbreaking nature of that, and I can't help but think of Savannah specifically, since many people believe they know her, having seen her on TV so much, having seen her heart-wrenching pleas to find her mother. There was a lot said in that.
No.
I heard the date January 11 mentioned. Now, again, Nano saying, oh, yeah, well, maybe the guy wasn't on the front porch January 11th.
He was.
But you know what?
Come on. Nano.
I had a guest in the last 24 hours, Joe Scott, you were with me, that says, it was Mr. LeMay, that stated.
Nancy's been doing some really good reporting on this, but the last night was exceptional, in my opinion. It was
FBI
really good
asked
reporting.
him about January 11. A lot of people are attacking him, of course, online, and saying that he made that up. No, he was asked to review his video, and he did.
Yeah.
And he
not only, this is the thing, and I agree with Nancy 1,000,000,000% on this. No, he was, like she just said, he was asked. Not only that, FBI came to them, came to the woman, and she told them about the 11th when she saw this guy, and they were interested in the 11th already. And it just happened to be the 11th when she saw the guy outside her bathroom window. So there is multiple neighbors that corroborate the 11th. Joseph Scott Morgan, he's great. Very intelligent guy.
He discovered after FBI requesting it, and he reviewed it, that was one of the very few times that and the night of the kidnap, that on those two nights alone, his dog went crazy and wanted to go outside.
Yes.
He also said the FBI asked him about that date, even though Nanos says, yeah, he's backtracking. Maybe it wasn't that date. But Savannah is mentioning that date as well.
Exactly. Think about this, guys. Don't Sheriff Doofy, who's they're trying to kick out anyways right now, because literally 98% of his own staff apparently don't have faith in him. So why should we, in my opinion? Okay, you've got Savannah talking about the 11th, the FBI talking about the 11th, the guy we listened to last night talking about the 11th, the other neighbor talking about the 11th. A camera at Nancy's house, apparently on the 11th. Doofy, we get the point. We get it. There's something on the 11th, even though you're trying to pull back on stuff. This is, in my opinion, why this guy, people don't have faith in him. Like, I get it. There's things that you have to keep close to the vest. during an investigation. But don't double speak. Don't double talk. Don't say anything rather than double speak. Because people, when you play with people like that, they don't like it. People would just rather just not say anything than double speak.
That date is significant. And I'm learning a lot from this most recent statement. Do you believe that this statement has been specifically issued because law enforcement is no longer giving any information out? There are no pressers.
See?
So Savannah and her brother and sister are
Savannah and them asked the 11th and the 31st.
trying to keep the search alive.
Yeah, I think so. Just imagine somebody doing chest compressions here. They're trying to breathe life or sustain life in this investigation, and information, incoming information, and also outgoing information.
And you see, to me, that hurts the investigation. What Sheriff Nonads is talking about, right? Like he's pulling back on the 11th. Well, we don't know. We don't know. Why wouldn't you want the public to be vigilant going back to the 11th? FBI has asked the public, go back and check your cameras on the 11th, 31st, certain days. But then you have Doofy pulling
Are
back.
always the lifeblood of any
frustrating.
kind of investigation. And yeah, it's not just about her making a statement like this. This is something that her people are telling her to do, to reference back to her mother to keep this case alive. I do not hold with all of these people out there saying that this is a cold case. You want to talk about cold cases? I'll talk to you about cold cases. This is not, I repeat, a cold case. Stop saying it, all right, at this point. I know that many weeks have gone by. The media is begging for more data. This is not a cold case, not the way a cold case is handled at this point in time. There's still life here. There's still hope. There's a possibility of some type of conclusion. None of us can guarantee what that conclusion will be, but yet there's still data to be gleaned. It's not a cold case.
Back to the issue, and the issue is, what is Savannah stating in this most recent plea? To Brian Fitzgibbons joining us, USPA Nationwide Security, she mentioned several dates which contradict what Nana's is saying, that Jan 24, Jan 11, yeah, we're not sure about that anymore. She specifically says Jan 11, specifically, and Jan 31, which leads me to believe that date is significant. Do you agree or disagree? And why the statement now?
Exactly.
Of course, I agree that January 11th is an important date. And we know this as fact at this point. The FBI went door to door. Mr. Lamy, your guest yesterday, corroborated that, looking for information about January 11th. So the fact that Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos is saying that date doesn't necessarily mean anything, I don't understand that statement. That date is clearly important and connected to this case.
There's a song it's literally called "You're a Dumbass," and I think that there's never been a better song for Sheriff Doofy here in his little Corvette. Ashley, thank you so much, my darling. Really, really do appreciate you. Welcome to the Pearl family. Thank you so much, y'all. Welcome, Ashley, to the Pearl family. Really do appreciate you, my darling. Okay. Doofy. Here we go. Let me show you this. If I can pull it here. All right. Check this out, Mr. Enton. are Brian Inton. Mods, if you would be so kind and drop Brian's link here. I got a little comment on this. I'm going to try not to get mad. Okay, maybe.
That led 360 degrees around her home.
Okay, this is Sheriff Nanos, Sheriff Doofy, whatever you want to call him, former boss, has concerns about the Nancy Guthrie investigation. His theory on what happened.
Footprints, articles of clothing, things she might have been carrying. Of course, then the next step would be, well, where would she logically go? Has she done this before? But as we became well aware, she had the mental faculties and sharpness of a much, much younger person. Her family told investigators that up front, and the need for a ground search was put on the back burner. That's the way I see it, spiraling forward.
But even weeks later, or even now, and I think to Savannah's or the Guthrie family statement that just came out in the last 24 hours, and it's so sad, but they seem to be acknowledging that Nancy is probably not with us anymore. And I think most people have kind of sadly come to that reality. But why wouldn't you still do some kind of search? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can tell me, you had so many years in law enforcement, but
wait,
wouldn't you still do some kind of search?
Apologize, not this part.
Nearly.
Hold on, let me go to the timestamp 1 second. Give me a second. Here we go.
There's no specificity with we want her alive. We just want her. And nobody has come forward and taken advantage of that, except for perhaps a clown or two. And we've seen that happen. So my theory is that she's passed. My theory is that they have nothing, they being the perpetrators, really have nothing with which to bargain any further. And what they may have done with her, I don't know.
Savannah made clear, though, a couple times that they were willing to pay for her return, even not alive.
Right.
But I guess if your theory is right, maybe these people are thinking it's too risky because now you're dealing with a murder, right?
Well, yes, certainly, there's a felony murder rule in the state of Arizona. And even if she died for medical reasons, you caused the circumstances, and it's very likely that it.
Does anyone think that there was a bargaining that the perpetrators did this for money? Like when I say for money, meaning ransom money, not the motive. The motive, if someone was doing for ransom, that would be a motive as well. But I think money could be a factor in this, but I don't think that the motive was ransom money. You get what I mean? I think money could be a factor to why they did this to her, but I don't think the factor was money, ransom way. If that would have happened, I think the scene would have been a lot cleaner. I think that they would have asked a lot sooner for the money. They would have tried to contact the family rather than a national media and local media. I think you would have left a letter there. I think you would have wanted to be urgent about this and not waited 3 or 4 days before a first ransom letter came out.
Would be adjudicated as a murder. So.
Oh, we got a new member. We got a new member. Hello, Mama Bear. Good to see you, darling. Thank you so very much. Really do appreciate you. Good to see you, my dear. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Our newest Pearl walking down the runway, Mama Bear. Thank you so much, Mama Bear. Good to see you, my friend. Really, really do appreciate it. No, if they wanted money, they would have left a note like every other kidnapping. Yes. And why wouldn't you have just said, here's a picture or here's audio of her, right? If you can request Bitcoin and send these letters through certain apps that truly cannot, or very, very, in many cases, cannot be traced, you can send a picture, a video, something. Hey, Claudia.
Yeah, I mean, if they're as sophisticated as I think they are, or he is, that thought has to have crossed the bad guy's mind. What do I do now? We don't have.
See, I don't think so, Stickler. In my opinion, it could have been for ransom. Nancy died. They panicked, but once other ransoms appeared, they asked for ransom. I don't know. This is the thing. Like, if she died, why did they take her? Like, if you're going in there to take an 84-year-old woman, which is super, super rare, and your goal was to take her, but she died before you got her out of the house or whatever, why would you take that extra risk of taking a body to another location? You know what I mean? And then I just I don't see it. They're generally not going to take a body if they if the whole object is money, right? But again, you're not going to ask, in my opinion, TMZ into local stations. You're going to know because, okay, think about this. They clearly did a lot of research, whoever these perpetrators are. We can agree on that, right? They did a lot of research, particularly like, them allegedly being there the 11th, the cameras and all that. If all of this comes out to fruition, that is true. If they did that, why can't the perpetrator, why wouldn't they have already had Tommaso or an Annie's or Cameron's or Savannah's contact information, right? Because you're going to contact them immediately because you don't want to keep Nancy. You're not going to want to keep her. So if they did all of this research with everything else, why are they not trying to get a hold of that family? They're going to have one of their contacts quick, pronto, but they didn't do that.
Have anything to negotiate with. And apparently it seems to me, the logical conclusion of this. Will we discover? I don't know. That DNA is going to be critical. Right now, I know the sheriff's department has trimmed down the investigative team, and I think they're down to 15 or 20 individuals, perhaps with some help from other agencies and the FBI. There have been thousands of tips that were called in to both the FBI and the sheriff's department. And there's some conjecture out there that this is a cold case now. I don't believe that in the least. I think as long as there's any evidence that is yet to be.
Well, I don't know about that either, Deb. Deb says they can't leave a body being around her. She was bleeding, so they touched her and they had to take her body. Well, I mean, if they got gloves on and they've got all the things on, and um, there's ways to take off DNA off someone's body, right? You don't necessarily need to take their body. You can. I'm not going to say how, but there's different ways you can uh, potentially, if there was something on her or whatever, you could take the DNA off. Different avenues.
Be determined the case is active and alive. If they've got thousands and thousands.
Right. I mean, you can. I mean, there's you for one instance, you can put someone in a bathtub. You can spray them with or wash them with cleaners and some bleach. Some people put up the house and smoke.
Thousands of leads. They have to prioritize those, of course, and then they have to vet each one, and that takes time. You never know when you're going to discover somebody's tip that may appear benign initially, but in fact had some information in it that leads you in the direction that you need to go. And as long as that exists, this is not a cold case, it's an active case.
I thought it was interesting in Savannah's latest, or in the Guthrie family statement, they said something along the lines of, it's someone in Tucson who's going to help solve this.
Right.
And when I was on the ground for 42 days, the sense that I got from people that I met and sources was the feeling was it's a local who's involved. Do
Bingo.
you sense that? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I really haven't given that much consideration, and I feel kind of neutral on whether it's a local or perhaps somebody else who came in to purposefully attack the Guthrie family by way of Nancy. What steers me ever so slightly towards the fact that it may not been a local is a couple of things. The level of sophistication, as I've said several times, that began. The obvious signs by the investigative leads that they are looking at different perspectives of different time frames.
To me, this is forget me not. This is again, if all of these dates are right, the 11th and the 31st, and the internet or a blackout going out, this is a level of sophistication that you almost never see. This case, in my opinion, is an outlier. To have the cameras going off and all of that.
Of different.
Oh, Ginger, thank you, darling. Thank you, babies. Appreciate you. I would like to know who determined her to be a walkaway when she can only walk 50 yards. Did someone say that to LE, or did LE assume it? Again, that's a good question. When Sheriff Nanos did that that little mini press briefing outside with the reporters that showed up, in my opinion, it was just him double speaking like he normally does, because they did say walk away, but then he also said this was a very unusual inside the crimes, or he's with the homicide detectives. He called the homicide in because he said clearly was something wrong here. To me, it was just him being a doofus, his normal doofus self.
different cameras. You may recall there was a vehicle fleeing the location, but it wasn't exactly the night of the abduction that they looked at. So the investigators have some information lending itself to other time frames other than the night of the abduction. What that tells me is that this was prepared. And again, that's another element that I believe underscores the fact that this was a sophisticated and purposeful act for a specific reason. And perhaps that reason has now gone away, perhaps by her death. And here we are, still.
There is no drag marks that we can see, LPC. No drag marks. There is, interestingly, there is 2 wheel marks, if you will. To me, it looks like a dolly that could have happened. In Nancy, the other Nancy, the case I was talking about, we're going to kind of compare Nancy Guthrie with the another Nancy that's very similar cases, that things that happened. If someone can help me, the other Nancy's last name, Woodrum. Thank you. They took her out, very similar to how we think that they took Nancy out, and then there was kind of like in the gravel, it looked like there was scuffle marks where they was lifting her or moving her in a vehicle. It was like kind of like a round area in the rocks. But in Nancy's case, there is 2, to me it looks like dolly, like a dolly, a cart.
Hoping and wishing the best to the family. It's a difficult case.
Yeah, you mentioned preparation. I mean, the January 11th date keeps coming up, and the Guthrie family actually put that date in their latest statement, which is the first time I've heard them on the record reference that date. But neighbors have been telling us for a long time that the FBI has specifically been asking them
wait,
actually put that.
And here we are.
Wait a second.
Still hoping and wishing the best to the family. It's a difficult case.
Yeah, you mentioned preparation. I mean, the January 11th date keeps coming up, and the Guthrie family actually put that date in their latest statement, which is the first time I've heard them on the record reference.
And listen, I am sure that if the Guthries mentioned the 11th, there's something to it. I'm going to believe, in my opinion, I'm going to believe Savannah before I am the guy down here in the white Corvette going to the gym. Right? That one. Sheriff No Nads.
Reference that date, but neighbors have been telling us for a long time that the FBI has specifically been asking them for video from January 11th. So it just goes back to what you said about some kind of preparation.
Well, you got to ask yourselves, where did the investigators get that date? How do they come to that?
Easy as it
What tells them that? And, they may have a small snippet of a video camera that saw something on January 11th. And
yeah, Ginger, I did know he was allegedly a boxer. He was allegedly a boxer to one of the guys in the prison, right? He's allegedly been a boxer to a few people trying to box them, if you will. Yeah. Just a different kind of boxer. I mean,
and that is what, 2-3 weeks prior to the incident, and they're looking for other corroborating samples of videos from that particular day. So that's telling. You can deduce what the investigators are doing by watching what they tell you and what they're asking the public for.
How many people do you think were involved?
I agree, Miss Mama.
In the abduction,
Listen
Yes.
to this.
my opinion is minimally 2, but it's difficult to keep a conspiracy secret like this. And that's just my opinion. There could have been 3. And again, we've kind of explored my.
Okay. He says minimally 2. I want to hear how many you think there is involved in the chat. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Get your woman on the floor. Gonna get up, get down. Remember that song? God, I'm old. Let's see here. 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4, 3, 1, 3, 4, 3, 3, 2, 3 or more. 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 2, 3, 2, 2, 4, 3, 2, 3. What's the question? How many do you think is involved in this? I think 2 to 3. 2 to 3. I think 2 to 3. And he's right. It is. But someone will probably tell someone eventually, if God forbid they don't figure it out by then. And you know what? That makes me wonder again. And again, I'm not blaming anybody because I truly have no clue on this. But it makes me wonder if, again, they've been to 2 different locations serving warrants, and then they were at Tommaso's house. Yeah, Barbara. And again, like I was talking about the Nancy Woodrum case, they executed warrants while they were investigating, and they went to certain places for DNA, even before they did any arrest. Right? They didn't just go to different people's houses and arrest. They went to different people's houses and got warrants and DNA and waited for things to come back. That's what I wonder, Tina. That's what I've been asking a long time. So it makes me wonder if there's just like this little circle.
My thoughts on this and my theory on this. I could be wrong, of course. This is conjecture on my part, and I know you understand that.
Of course, yeah.
What's the time? 25:05. Okay, let me go back here.
Related to the way this operation has been handled. And I think your viewers and you know full well I have some serious concerns. By the way, thanks for having me back. I appreciate the fact that you want to talk to me. And as you well know, I've been retired from the organization for a couple of years now, but I did serve there over 46 years, and I know the players intimately. That said, you're talking about a grid search. Initially, the case was handled as though this was an elderly woman who walked away from her home. That was the initial response for the first, perhaps 18, 24 hours or so.
And that is a bad thing.
And that did involve a search. There were search and rescue components on the ground, some on foot, some on horseback, and of course the helicopter.
Yes.
That didn't really find anything, but as soon as the sheriff's department saw the initial evidence, and now we have the luxury 7 weeks out to understand what that is, it became very clear, at least to me, that this was a very sophisticated abduction. And when I use that word sophisticated, I don't use it lightly, because the preparation that took
Yes.
place of the individual or individuals that committed this crime.
And you got to think about that too. Just everyday robbers, everyday criminals, like, yeah, they don't want to get caught. They don't want to get caught, but they usually don't have the preparation. And think about this, with preparation comes discipline, right? You have to be disciplined, calculated in order for the preparation to happen, right? This is someone who is disciplined enough to make sure this and this and this goes the way it should, right? She could still drive. She drove. So this person or people were disciplined. And that's very interesting.
Is evident,
which is rare. So someone who is, needing money just to rob someone to get rugs or whatever, they don't have that discipline, right? They don't have they're not going to wait weeks, perhaps.
evident in the video that we've seen. It's evident in the scene itself, and even the sheriff has concluded this was an abduction. That's not rocket science, but it's scary because we don't know what the intent was initially. I have some guesses, and there were, getting back to the grid idea, the grid search itself. One of the things they want to do is look very carefully from the point of origin, which would have been her home, and perhaps any evidence that led 360 degrees around her home, footprints, articles of clothing, things she might have been carrying. Of course, then the next step would be, well, where would she logically go? Has she done this before? But as we became well aware, she had the mental faculties and sharpness of a much, much younger person. Her family.
This is a real picture of her, Donna, right here, right here.
Told investigators that up front, and the need for a ground search was put on the back burner. That's the way I see it, spiraling forward.
But even weeks later, or even now, and I think to Savannah's or the Guthrie family statement that just came out in the last 24 hours, and it's so sad, but they seem to be acknowledging that Nancy is probably not with us anymore. And I think most people have kind of sadly come to that reality. But why wouldn't you still do some kind of search? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can tell me, you had so many years in law enforcement, but like, wouldn't you still do some kind of search to see if there's a grave, to see if there's a body somewhere? Or is it just too vast, the desert?
Well, to do it now would be difficult at best because the weather, wind, there's been rain here in this part of the country during the 7 weeks she's been missing, and that obscures anything you might find. But of course, you ask about a grave, but what would be the motivation of an individual to abduct her from her home and then take her somewhere?
Really? I have not heard that reporting. T hasn't been employed at the school for the last year, according to the school. Where did you hear that at? Is anyone else? That's interesting. If true, they did buy 2 homes in 2025.
Presumably with the intent to gain something, and we don't know what that is. A lot of us surmise it has to do with some.
I think I missed Miss Mama's comment. I'm sorry, Miss Mama. Something's going on. It's for a bigger. My mama pat. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. Of course. I'm so sorry, Miss Mama. That's so tough. My mama, she raised me. I'm so sorry.
Financial gain.
Love you, darling. Keep in her prayer.
But what would be the purpose of burying her if she passed near the home? That doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's not a likely scenario. There's several others that you and I have explored that I've shared with you. I know that the sheriff's department has information they cannot reveal, and they will not, just to maintain the integrity of the case. But
so he says he knows that they know things that they can't reveal, and then he says he thinks there's at least 2 people involved.
Some searches were conducted, several of them considerably later than one would have hoped.
Yes.
Because they found gloves, plural. They found a glove that belonged to somebody working at a nearby restaurant. And that kind of doesn't make sense. Apparently, there's some association between other evidence and an Uber driver. I know that they've interviewed, you reported at one point, the FBI SRT team went out and interacted with somebody who was an Uber driver. That didn't produce anything concrete. And they've taken steps to be as careful as possible. But as you've heard from me before, I don't think the right things were done initially. And I think the outcome, it may or may not have changed if certain things were done initially.
Well, we know that if they would have done certain things, it certainly couldn't have hurt. Right? So if you do all the correct things or most of the correct things, it's not going to hurt the case. But not doing those things do hurt the case. That's just a fact. Right? And pretty much, hey Joe, good to see you, hon. Pretty much everyone agrees that there were things, even by our eyes, wasn't done. And things that the sheriff, in my opinion, has said. For instance, the doormat. For instance, sending the stuff to a Florida lab, not letting the FBI take hold of it, not having communication, allegedly, with the FBI for the first nearly 3 weeks. Cassie, Daphne and I was talking about that since even before people was really even criticizing deeply, like before the way before the recall of Sheriff Nanos, that almost everybody in the department are rookies. And in my opinion, he does that, in my opinion, for control. He doesn't want anyone there with seniority and, in my opinion, and all that. Your banner says full credit Nancy Guthrie. Do you mean Nancy Grace? I'm sorry if I messed that up earlier. Yeah, it's in the description for the replay crew. It'll say, make sure, did I put, yeah, Nancy Grace in the description. Okay, make it sure. Thank you for telling me that. Thank you, Tina. Appreciate you, darling. Good to see you. Many blessings, just on beautiful product. This is so heartbreaking. It really is, and I I really just have so much sympathy for the family. I can't imagine, uh, what they're just not knowing where their mother is and something so tragic, so violent happening. And then we're frustrated with the sheriff, right? We're frustrated with the sheriff because we know things weren't done or seemingly not handled properly. Can you imagine this being your mother or your family member and the sheriff not communicating with the FBI allegedly or not sending things to the right lab when 98% of other county staff members don't have faith in you? Like, that is bad, 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 you know? Mhm. I don't think Savannah Guthrie would ask for proof of life or that sheriff would discourage paying Bitcoin. I feel it's someone familiar with her routines and fair knowledge of her camera situation, why it no longer was a part of everyday life of Nancy, who believed there was something to gain financially. They had to know she was gone, in my opinion, while she was at family members, right? Let's think about this. Who who would know if Nancy went to dinner? Who would know if Nancy went to dinner? Well, to me, it can only mean a couple things. It's someone that was like watching her that evening or having some surveillance on her almost constantly, or it had to be a friend or a family member, or it had to be a neighbor of most likely Nancy, or even potentially Tommaso and Annie's, right? Had to be something like that. So no proof of life, no financial gain. Absolutely. Absolutely. Which, I mean, well, no giving her back, no financial gain either, right? I never thought of that. Yeah. I mean, clearly this person, if the neighbor saw and it them out their bathroom and it was the person that was there during when Nancy was at Tommaso's and Annie's, um, and the other neighbor saw the car while they were walking their dog Saturday evening, that means they knew Nancy wasn't home. And that's either going to be one of Nancy's neighbors, a family or friend that knows she was going to dinner, wasn't going to be home, or someone sitting and watching her 24/7, which I don't think that they sat and watched her 24/7. This is someone really, really close in one way, shape, or form. Someone very close. They are very close.
Regardless, they're still pursuing this, albeit a much smaller investigative entity, but they're still pursuing this.
You mentioned things that they're holding back, law enforcement. I know you don't work there anymore, but you did work there for more than 40 years, which is amazing, by the way. Do you think that there's a lot they're holding back? Because I've kind of struggled with that. Like, do you think there's things that they saw inside the house, like big, details that they are specifically not telling the public? Or do you think by this point that stuff would have gotten out?
Well, I think a lot of it has gotten out, but you say big details, and that's kind of a subjective term, what big means. But the purpose of withholding information on a case is so that the investigators, when they do have a person in custody, and let me take the example of this Uber driver, the guy that the FBI went and talked to. They have information that only the bad guy would know, or perhaps the family. And that has to be withheld, because if at some future point we discover who committed this crime,
Right.
there are ways to interrogate that person and try and deem specifics that only that person would know.
Right.
And then that adds credibility to that person's story. There are somebody in an interview with me one time called them clowns, and I think that's probably the perfect description. But there are individuals out there who purport to be the ones who did the crime, but they don't have the level of detail that law enforcement is withholding, and it can be easily disproved that somebody's come forward and said something and it's not valid. And that's really the reason, the critical reason. And then of course you've got if and when this ever went to a court, you have to be able to prove what information that person has and what you know. DNA is a classic, serious piece of evidence today. It didn't exist when I started out as a foot cop, but it does today. And that has expanded beyond just the actual DNA and somebody to compare it to. It's now gone beyond familial relationships and DNA databanks that have close enough information to steer investigators toward some narrower scope. I believe that they have that.
I disagree. Comic Shells personally, but Comic Shell says things never go as planned, Justin. As Justin always says, yes, I agree with that. I think Savannah Guthrie would have paid the Bitcoin because of her emotions and love for her mom, and Perp knew that. But they didn't count on Nanos blocking that. I disagree with that, because I think, just in my opinion, they wouldn't have waited 3 or 4 days. You get what I mean? And I think they would have left a letter. They would have contacted. They were so prepared with other things in this case, down to, potentially doing a blackout in the neighborhood, that they would have had Savannah's contact information, Cameron's, Tommaso, and Annie's.
I believe they have some DNA
You know what I mean?
that it can't be compared to an individual because they don't have the individual, or that individual had never been arrested for a serious enough crime.
Simply Real. Everything, all of the research I have done, everyone seemingly in the family, immediate family, are millionaires, essentially. Obviously, Savannah, she's worth allegedly 8 or 12 million. Cameron's worth a few million. and Annie and Tommaso, they were allegedly worth like, I think, 6 or 800,000. And when I say worth, I'm talking about like their assets allegedly. But again, they allegedly, they say that Tommaso liked to live a little more bougie than Annie. But that's just speculation, of course. They did buy 2 houses. I think they own 3 houses total. 2 of them they bought in 2025. They sold an older car in 2025. Um, I they don't seemingly make a lot of money. A private school teacher's salary. It's it just depends.
Time for the DNA to be in the
It's so
database.
it's
But
hard to
they've
know.
got something, that might tie into family level and draw investigators toward singling out who may have done this.
So based on all your experience, and you mentioned, I mean, there are things that you don't know, there are things we don't know, but based on all your experience, what is your theory now? I mean, because I talked to you early on, is there one hypothesis you have based on the facts that we know?
Here's a couple of things, and I'm going to take us, if you don't mind, Brian,
Correct.
through the chronology of what happened and what we know. One of the first critical things we saw was blood on the porch, and I think your team reported that. Secondarily, the FBI gets involved, thank goodness, and we see that there was a video camera that did record an incident.
1,000%. Simply real. You're absolutely right. You can have a lot of assets and you can be liquid broke as a joke and not be able to afford groceries, right? In my experience, I've seen plenty of people with assets over $1 million, but in big debt with no cash money. Yes, if you don't have liquid, and those are just sitting there, not making money or not making at least a decent amount of monthly. You can pay $600,000 for a home, but only be making. Well, think about it. I mean, you can finance a home and for 600,000 and essentially rent that out, and it essentially pays for itself, right? The renter is essentially paying for the home, right? Now you might gross 300-400 extra dollars a month, but you're going to need repairs. You're going to need to pay taxes. Whatever. You're going to have to calculate all of that in. So just because they bought houses, it doesn't mean that that's an income for them either, right? It takes a long time to pay off a home. In many cases, 30 years. It just depends on, how their real estate portfolio is. It just really depends. It really does. Many teachers, there's different ways that they're paid. Sometimes they can do it, pay in 12 months, and sometimes it can be like 9 months or whatever, you know what I mean? So they don't get paid during the summer. It just depends on how they
a
do it.
suspicious or a individual who covered his identity
3 to 4
walked up. If
times.
you watch that video carefully, you'll see him approach slowly and with his right shoulder toward the camera and his turning to his left with his head. That tells me he knew where the camera was. That tells me that perhaps this, and that's when I underscore the word
camera.
sophistication, that this individual had that information in his mind when he walked up to that front porch. He slumps forward, kind of buries his head into his left shoulder, walks towards the camera, slowly puts a glove up, turns around, picks up some brush, apparently, in the porch in front, and then puts it in front of the camera again, covering it with his glove and this brush. That's preparatory work.
Hey guys, you know I was in Arizona for almost a month and a half.
In my opinion, once they go to court for request of death without body, then they will find out if there was a motive there. Who was a trustee? Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. You know, some people think still that, you know, family, friends, you know, someone with a financial tie could have been the motive, which could have been. But, you know, they can't cash in until she's declared dead, right? And you're not just declared dead overnight, right? Let me go to this. Okay.
I'm disheartened because I know that the longer this takes, the chances of her being alive become very, very slim. I am surprised because there was a lot of encouraging elements to the investigation, especially that Ring camera, or excuse me, the whatever the other one is, the camera
The
footage.
Google Nest, yeah.
Yeah. And that seemed to be a very strong turning point in the investigation. There were parts of that video that I'm sure the investigators have dissected. For example, the neck area, the mouth area, the hair, the mustache, eyes, eye color, all of that. They would be able to
measuring. I'm sure they were measuring. Home is paid off of 630. I have the paperwork, Pugs. I'm trying to remember. They have a home in Florida, they have the other rental, and then they have their home.
dissect it considerably and hopefully come up with some part of it that is specific to an individual.
They need to do some stuff.
You know, today we use our phones and face IDs. Well, so does security at the airports. And so does security for other places across the world. And there's specifics to each person's eye and mouth and creases and cracks and all kinds of different things that now through the computerized technology that we're using can help narrow things down. But you may have thousands and thousands of things or people that are close to those things. I'm sure they're looking at that. Smart investigators would be looking at that.
How long have you known Sheriff Nanos?
Well, his entire career. And back in 1984, when he began, I was probably a patrol sergeant and we didn't interact. Later in his career, I got promoted, he got promoted. And of course, you know, the leadership roles of the organization changed. And as I told you before, he worked for me the majority of his career. And so I know him. What I was told.
Baby, I'm so sorry. I did not see that earlier. I am so sorry, my love. I apologize. Thank you so much for 17 months. You are an OG Looking Glass, and I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you so much for your continued support. And again, I apologize I did not see that earlier. Good to see you, my dear. Nobody knows what Tommaso's history in Italy. When the moon hits your eye like big old pizza pie, that's amore. SG could have said house, home, kitchen. She said bed. How does she know nanos? I don't know what you mean, baby. The only one who can rule out is prosecutor. Now I want a pizza. I want some garlic bread. I saw the video on Doug Live. Okay, and I think it holds a lot of information. Maybe solving the case. I'm not sure. I don't think it's the same person. But I think it's very interesting. I don't think it's the same person as. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm so confused on this one. But you get what I'm trying to say. Thank you. A piece to G. Yes. I saw the. Okay, read that one. Italians have great taste and style. They certainly do. Yes, phones work inside my home, but my hearing aids are Bluetooth. Sometimes black out in certain areas of my home. Really? Interesting.
Is he's a bully by many people who would come to me and personally relate, look,
Hear that?
Rick, the guy works for you. He's paid.
He's a bully. He's a bully. Bully, bully, bully.
Patronizing you, but he's a bully to all of his subordinates. I didn't believe that until I went to work for him, until he became the sheriff and I was his number two. And then I became strongly aware of the type of egocentric individual he is, how vindictive he is. And
you can see Nanos get in some of his interviews, even when like local press him, he will start shaking. He gets mad. Like he'll start shaking. Right? Justin, SG taken from bed. She was yes. She's relying on Nanos from that, yes. Where I'm from, all of the short cops are jerks. You've got to fight when you're little, Kelsey. You've got to fight when you're little.
How vain he is. And actually, his vanity is one of the first things that became so evident to this nation and the world as he's out there, you know, talking to anybody and everybody that he could, instead of coordinating with the FBI and perhaps.
He's vain. You're so vain. I bet you think this live stream's about you. You're so
ensuring
vain.
that the proper collaboration of investigators in this valley got together and started to rethink the evidence that they had. One person's idea, and I'll use myself as an example. You've asked me what my theory is, and that's mine. But if I were to sit down with another learned individual in investigative work and walk through all the elements of the evidence, he and I or she and I could bounce off of each other ideas and concept. One mind is much, much stronger, greater, and two is much greater than one, three, and so forth. And what I'm troubled by this investigation is that the sheriff took this to we're in charge,
guys, got some breaking
we don't
news.
need anybody's help, so be it. That's sad,
A little bit of
because
breaking
there
news.
are
One
other
second.
points of view and other levels of talent that could have been brought into this earlier.
One
Would that make a
second.
difference to where we're at today? Perhaps not. But it's still not the right way to conduct a police investigation of this nature.
Yeah, and I just want to understand better, because you have such a unique perspective on the sheriff just because of your history. You know, we've talked to other people who worked for him a little bit or knew him a little bit. I mean, you have a long history with the sheriff. So
I do.
So, I mean, you worked with him for 40 years?
Yeah.
And you were his boss for how long?
Probably 37 of that 40.
So you were his boss for 37 years, and then he ran for sheriff.
Well, here's what happened, and a lot of people don't know this. And I was reading a story today where Chris said the former sheriff wanted him to be the new sheriff. I'm the one who went to the former sheriff and said, "This is your guy." Not that I'm trying to take credit for it. As a matter of fact, I regret doing that. I regret it because it has made the organization that I came.
Give me 1 second, guys. I got some information coming in about the part of the case. Just give me a second. Come on now. Okay. Uh, location of blood inside Nancy Guthrie's home. Give me a second. It's not. She regularly left her back doors unlocked. Give me a second. Back door was left open for sure. Give me a second. Okay. Perfect. Okay.
From that I
Okay. I need to pull this up. Okay. Got some new information. Where the blood is. Where the blood is. You got to give me a minute, Shanty. I got to find out. Okay, so here is Nancy Guthrie's. This is the opening, the door, right? The opening right here. Right here. And this door, the sliding door, or I think this is the sliding door right here. If I'm correct, sliding door. That door was open. There was blood in the front of the door. According to Banfield, news source is saying that there was blood in front of the door. And I told you a week ago, this week, that I have heard that there was blood on the other side of the door. And Banfield is now confirming, according to her source, that there is blood on the other side of the door. right? The other, so yeah, so when you walk in the house, so there's blood out here on the porch. There was allegedly blood in here. And then you go straight back, there's another door, and that was open as well. Um, you can just kind of like walk straight back to the other door, right? You know how like doors are sometimes lined up, but they're on each side of the house? No, no. There was only blood at the one door at the front. At the front. The neighborhood next door to Nancy's has and sells gym. Yeah, they do. Yes. So we've got blood on the outside of the door at the front door. We've got blood on the inside of the other side of the door, inside the house. Yes. I had spoken about that at least a week ago, that I've heard that there was blood on the inside of the front door. And according to Banfield now, she is saying, yeah, it means something, right? It means either there was loss of containment, or she was walking there. Is there more blood on the inside? They don't give us an amount. Yes. Yes. Outside the front door and inside the front door. Outside the front door and inside the front door. There is. Absolutely. Okay. Bear with me. Mhm. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's still nothing right now. So what now? Well, that means that nothing good happened. Makes me think she opened the door for someone. I don't think she opened the door. I think someone came through the back door, and I think see, I really want to know like how much blood is inside. Is it it's probably more. Okay, let's think about this a second. Tommaso and them came there, right? We don't know what door that they went through. Garage door, sliding door, front door, right? If you go through the back door, like the slider door, it's going to be open. You're going to be like, what the hell? You go to the front door, you're going to see blood somewhere. You go to the garage door, it's going to take a second. Where does the blue door lead to? The blue door. Let me look. Let's look at a picture of the house. Let me see here. the backyard. That's to the garage, I think. I think it goes to like the garage, or it's close to the garage. Let me show you this. This is whenever right here. This is the patio, right? Sliding doors. This was opened. This door was open. And on the other side of the house is the front door. And that's where the blood was on the outside. It's also on the inside of the house. So if you to the house to check on mom, you check the whole house, even walk past the front door. Why then LE just first thought wandered off? Doesn't make sense. I agree. I agree. Especially when they had homicide there. Oh, it was. It was someone very familiar. Very familiar. Sure is. Okay, let me look at something right here. Um, Retired Deputy Dr. Richard Carmona tells me that the Pima County Board of Supervisors is displeased with Sheriff Chris Nona's leadership and embarrassed by comments he's made during the investigation. Okay. There's been some anonymous tips coming in as well. Trying to see something. What is she saying? This guy behaved in extraordinary way. In extraordinary ways. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. If anything breaks on this, I will be here. You can bet. I'm trying to find something. It's hard for me to talk and find stuff at the same time. So, if anything, like I said, breaks, I will let you guys know very quickly. So don't fret, my friends. How long have I been here? 3 hours and 13 minutes. Perfect. Did anyone check the Castilla to see if maybe they were hiding there? Maybe they knew she would be home at a certain time. Well, they had to know she was gone, and because criminals don't show up generally if you're not gone. Thank you, Miss Grace. It's so good to see you. Thank you, darling. Thank you, 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 thank you. Nancy had lived there over 50 years and was safe. Hold on, I'm getting something, guys. Don't go anywhere. Wait, just wait a second. Just wait a second. Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna look at that. I'll go back to that and look. Okay. Justin, I just got up. What do you mean you just got up? Sherry, what do you mean? You just woke up? Girl, I gotta go to bed. I got to go to bed. I gotta be up at I get up at 5:30 every morning. Oh my god. You said hold on. Oh, you said hold on, don't go. Sorry. I thought something was coming in, but I have to dig a little bit on that before I say anything. You know what I mean? Lorette, I was watching you today or yesterday, I want to say. I was cleaning while I was listening to you. Good live. Nobody knew what happened. No, but we're all judgmental creatures. We are. And I really don't think anybody can say what happened in this case, right? But I think we can say something happened and there's weird things in this and that they were very planned. The AB link is in your email. Okay, Pug. Thank you, baby. It happens, Laura. Trust me. Trust me. But we're judgmental creatures because we need to make sense of whatever happened. You know what I mean? Thank you, Deb. Wendy, Ginger, Miss Eureka, Little Red Pugs, Wendy, Mother, Sherry, Leilani. Good to see you, honey. LPC, thank you so much. Peace of Jesus. Good to see you. Robin, Cindy, Spirit Moon. Everyone, love you all. Appreciate ya. Appreciate ya very much. All right, guys. Good night, everyone. God bless. Take good care of yourself. You only get so many trips around the sun. Good night.